right, welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live here at Citizen Television, one-on-one with IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba here, answering the tough questions, and a lot of tough questions coming from you all. And let's keep going. Now, let's get this straight. NASA was insisting that they did not get access to the servers. That's what they kept saying. And therefore, the argument was the election was stolen that way. But you claim, you say right here, that the servers were open.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, the access was at two levels. The first level of access, where we gave all the presidential candidates, the agents, an opportunity to access what was happening behind the scenes. That was at Bomas of Kenya, if you remember. We set up desks and we said, okay, fine. Each agent give us your ICT officer. We're going to allow you to look at the back end, see what is being processed. You'll be able to see the Form 34S as they come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the 6 agents were actually given that access. NASA was included. Jubilee was included. Nyaga's agent was included, 6 of them. And we have the records in terms of what happened, how many times did each candidate log in. So that's one side. Then we have the access that was ordered by the court. And of course, the court also made an observation that had we given full access, then perhaps all those issues will have been resolved. But again, as I explained, it was not an easy task to configure that access. It was not a question of passwords just being generated and granting those passwords to the candidates. Because of the security, the security in the manner in which it was, the system was set up. Now, that system is now available, is still available for access. Only that now we are preparing for the next election. So the commission, as I said, wants to bring this matter to a closure. And the best way is to have an independent audit. Get a reputable firm to come over and conduct an audit of the system. Get all the logs, analyze all those logs, and give the information to the public. My own people have been able to look at the logs, analyze those logs, and they can confirm that there was nothing unusual. Saffron Morpho, OT Morpho, has been able to undertake an audit, far much extensive audit than ourselves.
Yeah.
And they found nothing from the logs. Now, Saffron on their own have also commissioned an independent audit. It only tells you that people who are affected by this process want to have this matter brought to closure.
Yeah. This next question could be incriminating, so be careful how you answer it.
Maybe you should not ask it.
Could this election have been rigged? Could it have been rigged? Is it possible?
No, I think that's not how you ask a question.
Go on.
You're talking to the CEO of IEBC,
yes,
responsible for election management.
Yes. You could wash your hands, say, you know what, maybe someone manipulated the system.
There is no evidence that the election was manipulated. There's no objective evidence that shows that the election was manipulated. And when the matter came to the Supreme Court, of course, the Supreme Court made some remark, the majority made some remark saying that since we do not allow full access to the system, therefore, they can conclude that perhaps there was interference with the system. But you get the logic. It will take time for us to come to terms with that type of conclusion. But that said, the Supreme Court nullified the election on 2 issues: transmission of results in a manner that they thought was not transparent enough, verifiable, in a manner that was not simple. And secondly, when it came to the issues of forms, they thought we did not follow our own standards. Therefore, the integrity of the entire process could not be vouched for. If you look at those decisions, it's basically questioning the process. And because the process had issues, they could not vouch for results. But as an elections manager, based on what I saw, based on the evidence that we collected, compared to other processes before, I can tell you that there was no interference in the manner in which the election was managed.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the new electoral laws come into effect before the election, how will that help you? How will that aid the IEBC? For instance, returning officers not signing the specific forms, and some didn't at some stage, we know this. And if they don't sign this time, there's a jail term of up to 5 years. Chief returning officer, meaning your chairman, not necessarily the person announcing the final results. It could be his deputy. How does that affect you all?
Well, we go 21 days to the election. The Supreme Court gave us its detailed judgment on the 21st, I think, of this month. And out of that, of course, there are two schools of thought. There are those who think that it's important for us to amend the law to address some of the gaps that were identified by the Supreme Court. But there are those who think that the current laws are enough and perhaps it's too risky to change the law at this particular point in time. Look, we've been here before. Last year, we fought so hard to ensure that we have stability in the legal framework. But members of parliament kept on changing the law. They changed it in December. They changed it in January. Yeah. Now they're changing again. There's some processes that you may not necessarily stop because of the political expediency of the moment. But in terms of our operations, I will say that we agree that there's some gaps that need to be fixed, even as we go forward. But I think it's a manner in which those gaps must be fixed. I think that's the issue. And I think looking at politicians on both sides, they have concerns, or they may have some solutions to some of the issues that have emerged from the last election. So our urge is, whatever we do, we must only take action that stabilizes the legal framework and puts us in a better place to manage the coming election, so that we have consensus across the board. Yeah.
So this will help?
We're yet to see the final wording of some of the legislation. Yeah. And I know that perhaps tomorrow we'll be meeting the parliamentarians. Correct. So that we have an open conversation in terms of what each of those provisions mean for us as we prepare for this election.
Okay. If all goes well and we have an election on the 26th,
right,
but in the last minute, NASA leader Raila Odinga says he's not going to run. He just says, I'm not going to go for this. I'm not happy with the irreducible minimums. I'm not running. What happens?
Yeah, it's a question that people keep on asking. There seems to be a legal vacuum there. And we are seeking some guidance in terms of how you address such a situation. But it's not because of Raila Odinga, which is also wrong. I mean, even the President Uhuru Kenyatta can decide that he's not running. He's tired. But again, that one you leave to political analysts. As an election manager, I think mine is to just ensure that we prepare fully for the election, and whatever election we conduct is within the legal framework. And where there are gaps, then we seek guidance from the court. And we expect also that through the Kura Court's case, the Supreme Court is going to provide some, the High Court will provide some guidance on some of these nuances. Yeah.
You talked about legal guidance a moment ago. Is there a possibility this could go beyond October 31st? Meaning beyond 60 days, and the Supreme Court had insisted that the election happen in 60 days. Could it go beyond October 31st?
Well, I mean, if we run the election, the only way it goes beyond 60 days, first of all, we must run that election. And then there's a challenge arising out of that particular election. And that means other timelines start falling into place.
You mean like someone rushing to court?
Yeah, somebody can rush to court, but then it depends on what the court says. But we don't think that the election will be postponed given the current circumstance. And I think both sides are willing to have this election happening.
You don't see a constitutional crisis?
I mean, a constitutional crisis because the election is not going to be held?
Yes.
From where we sit now, we're not projecting it that way. We're just focused on getting that election done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think NASA now is going after Safaricom? And that, you know, you have several providers. You mentioned yourself, you have several providers or several networks you're using, and yet they've singled out 6 employees of Safaricom in particular.
Again, Jeff, that one you leave to some other panelists. I'm an elections manager. NASA is my client. And I said that if they have concerns about how services were provided or services are being provided, there's a forum at which we can have all these issues addressed. We have seen their letter, the concern that they have, and I know that the company itself is addressing those issues. So we hope that no business will be victimized, no business will become subject of an ending debate just because of how, just because they contributed their part in the last election.
Yeah.
We still need Safaricom. I mean, this country, if we want to transmit results, you cannot work without Safaricom. We must work together with all the suppliers. The Commission does not have its own independent network. The Commission does not have other levels of capacity, so you have to rely on these other companies. And the only way we can deliver is to give them some level of confidence that whatever they do will be there for them as a country, not just the Commission, as a country. Yeah.
All right. Let's go to a few tweets and texts and stuff. Monica, just hold on before we go to the wall. Yes. Asmali wants to know, can Ezra Chiloba explain the 54% algorithm conundrum? Yes. Asmali, conundrum? Almost a third of country governors won with 54%, give or take. Is that true?
It's not true. It's not true. And by the way, the 54% arose from the results that were projected at the National Tiling Center. And it was also part of the NASA claim, the origin of the 11% constant figure. First of all, and this we also said in court, there was nothing like a constant figure of 11%. What we heard was a variable number at the initial stage. The 11% only stabilized or came to be at a point when about 3 million or so voters had been transmitted, votes had been transmitted. And then it ended up resting at 9%. So there was no constant figure. And there is something called, in statistics, called the law of large numbers. So this one is for those who study numbers. The law of large numbers. If you have an election like the one we had, and you receive a huge amount of data randomly coming in from the smallest unit, what usually happens is that whilst at the initial stage, the numbers will come in and the differences between candidates vary. That number, once a significant number of votes have come in, that number will start stabilizing to some normal number. And when that happens is what we may call the normal behavior of large numbers. So from where we sit, and based on the evidence, the manner in which results came in followed a pattern that was expected generally when it comes to statistics. Yeah.
There was talk about UNDP coming in and, supervising, if you will?
I think there was ballot paper.
Yes.
Yes.
And then your name came up as a former employee of UNDP.
Yes. And so many other people. Yes. You know, what had happened is that, of course, everyone was concerned about how we're going to make sure that this election is successful. And there was discussion by some of the stakeholders that perhaps the UN could intervene and help the Commission acquire ballot papers. It's unfortunate that the fact that I work for the United Nations and that association kind of also killed the discussion further because the UN came under attack, but from both sides of the political divide.
Yeah.
So that is it. Now that's water under the bridge. But one thing I can also say is that the UN does a lot of this work for many countries around the world, and especially countries going through crisis or coming out of recovering from crisis. So the question that we also considered was whether or not we were at that particular level. And some of the conditions even the UN had set was, first of all, there must be consensus of all the political parties concerned before we make any step.
Yeah.
And since all political parties did not agree, and we had to prepare for elections, we went back to Al Ghurair.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about that other story about you being married to a niece of...
JF.
All right, sorry, that's dumb. Sorry.
But I can answer that at some point.
Okay. Are you?
Of course not.
Maina Kiai is asking, all this drama surrounding you, all this drama.
Right.
You think it's put an expiry date on your young career in corporate Kenya? Do you think so? Does it worry you?
If anything, Jeff, I look at it as an opportunity. I mean, not so many people will have this opportunity to serve their country at this particular point in their life cycle. I got more than 40 years to go ahead of me. So the question is, how can we grab this as an opportunity to make things better and for the sake of the country? Yeah.
Let's go to some tweets. Monica, what do we have? All right, first one. And this is Joshua Mwenda. You say, ask Chiloba about the Chir logins.
That's a good question. I already explained that any login that was carried out by an agent of a candidate in the last election was a legitimate login in as far as the KIEMS system was concerned. And it was not only Chir. I've said all the 6 candidates had their agents who were given login credentials. And of course, NASA had about 54 logins. Chir had about 8 or so logins. We had others doing 20. And there is evidence out there. So it should not be portrayed as though there was only one person who was given that particular access. All candidates were given access. Yeah.
Okay. Gerald Leparillo, you say, how can OT Morpho configure KIEMS kits, yet they are being used as election materials in various petitions?
Yeah, that's also a very important issue, which I think we need now to... We are getting into the realities of elections and technology, the limits of technology when it comes to elections. The law says that all election materials must be preserved for a period of 3 years. One, of course, to support resolving disputes that may arise, but also for other purposes. Now, when it comes to technology, which should be reused, the question is, how do you preserve that material? From where we sit, and we've had this discussion with the committee on election, that is the Judiciary Election Committee, and our agreement with the committee was that what they should be interested in is the information in those particular kits. And that information can be preserved in SD cards. So the Commission made a decision that they're not going to interfere with the SD cards in those kits, so that if there is need, or the court makes an order, we'll be able to avail that particular information. But then the hardware can be used for other purposes, for other elections.
Okay, nice one. Okay, next. Monica, what do we have? Ino Ambani, you say Mr. Chiloba is within his constitutional rights of serving this nation. In fact, NASA should apologize to him.
No, I have no comment on that, I think.
All right. What else do we have? Ibrahim Magara, you say, yes, he should resign. Surely illegalities and irregularities didn't commit themselves, did they?
No, well, you know, this again was a matter that was before the court. And the court said, by the way, an illegality does not necessarily lead to criminality. Okay, because if it's a crime, then you must prove what we call mens rea, or deliberate effort to play the system. But according to the Supreme Court, of course, and given the evidence, what they saw that led to some of those illegalities and irregularities were systemic issues that the Commission was given another chance to be able to correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Keep moving. Your tweets coming in very thick and very fast. Thuranira Muturia, you say your transparency is questionable. You need to address voters, not candidates. They will never speak a common thing. Hashtag lost hope in IEBC.
Yeah, unfortunate. You should not lose hope in IEBC. And again, why we exist, why we are there, is for us to protect the sovereignty of the people of Kenya. And that is the responsibility upon all institutions that have been set up under the Constitution. And so it's imperative for all of us, including those candidates, to ensure that whatever we do, we confine ourselves to the greater good of the people of Kenya. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Pili Ngugi, you say he should stand strong. The storm will definitely pass. NASA using Chiloba as a scapegoat.
That's politics.
I'm sure you have no comment. Majella, you say yes, he should resign, or just step aside to allow for elections and come back after the repeat elections. Okay.
I answered that already.
All right. Is that the last one? Okay. Elkanah Eli, you say no, he shouldn't resign unless proven guilty. Otherwise, let him stay focused and work towards delivering a credible election. I
think what is also important in this country is that if you look at the history of the Commission, since 2008 or 2007,
yeah,
we have been an institution in transition. Every moment we have a challenge, we quickly patch it up. We have a challenge, we patch it up. And you have the ECK, of course, which went. We had the IIC, which was temporary for a period of 2 years. Then we had Ahmed Isaac's commission, which was only there for 2 years.
Yeah, that was hounded out of office.
Yeah. I mean, they also left office midway. Then 6 months to the election, we had a new commission coming into office. And then the question about sustainability of some of these interventions will have to arise. How do we build strong institutions if at every moment there is a challenge, we target dismantling of that particular institution? So we must have a bigger picture, look into the future, because we're not doing these things for ourselves. If we really have a new constitution that works for us, it must work for us, but also for the future generation.
If you were to do this all over again,
right,
would you have still applied for that CEO job?
I can tell you, Jeff. As I said, I look at it as an opportunity. It's been a great, great learning lesson, learning opportunity for me. And yeah, I'll encourage many people to try it. No, because it's not about you, it's about service to the people of Kenya. So,
really?
Yes. Yes.
Let's go to some SMSs.
There's nothing easy out here.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. SMSs. John, you say it was said that the results displayed by the media were just statistics. What did this mean?
Yeah, good question. Again, from the Maina Kiai case, you remember that this country has always had a tradition of transmitting results in the form of provisional results.
Provisional.
The text data that you see being collated and projected on the screens, those, we used to call them provisional results. Together with the forms that were coming from the polling sessions, were all provisional results. Until the Maina Kiai case, which was determined 35 days to the election. So when it came to treating results as final, because they said this, you cannot have anything called provisional results. We did not have a language to define the text data that we were receiving.
Right.
from the polling station.
Yeah.
And that's why our lawyers kept on saying statistics, data, and stuff like that. And by the way, if there's an amendment that I would want to push at this particular moment, is to provide status to those numbers, which status should be provisional results.
Status as in?
I mean, the legal status of the numbers that we project on the screen, we call them provisional results.
Right.
And the reason is, previously, we used to call them provisional results, but without a legal basis. So that the final results are the results on the form that has been transmitted.
Right.
Yeah.
Greg, are you okay on camera one? Are you all right? Okay. Just checking, man. Just checking. Don't want anyone collapsing here now. Wagura, you say, ask the CEO what will happen to the old presidential ballots on 26th October, not to mix with the August ballots. Is the color the same this time?
That's a very, very good question. Now, we're going to print new ballot papers, and the decision we've taken is to change the color of those ballot papers. So we're going to have something gray to distinguish it from the white, which was used last time. Let someone come and say, hey, you had already pre-printed these things, so there's going to be a different color for this presidential election.
Good question there. Well done. Okay. Yeah. That clears that. Mark, you say, if the servers cannot be opened as required, then how sure can we be to imagine that the said servers can, in real sense, provide the said results this time around?
I mean, I think the provision of results and the access are not related, in the sense that the more secure it is, the more secure the servers are, the better off we are in terms of guaranteeing receiving secure results.
Right.
Yeah. So there's no relationship.
There's no relation at all to that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Some Facebook posts, Monica? Where to go? All right. Dennis Omiya, you say, ask Chiloba why the server was still counting 5 days after declaration of the presidential results.
That was a very, very good question. What happened is that we were receiving results from the polling stations being transmitted in to the National Tallying Center. And then we were having it available on the website. So there are those who delayed in transmission of those results. But that did not mean that the actual results had not been delivered to the returning officer. The decision we made was that, given the circumstances, even in situations where the presiding officers were not able to transmit results from the polling stations, they will go to the constituency tallying center, deliver the physical Form 34A, allow the returning officer to compile his Form 34B, which will be scanned to the National Tallying Center to allow us to declare the results. Now,
will you declare them digitally or will it be manually?
In this coming election?
Yes.
No, I mean, it will be manual, supported by electronic format. Yeah. But in this case, to just help the person who asked the question, is to state that we made a deliberate decision to ensure that 100% transmission had happened, at least even with the text data, so that we have all that information together. In 2013, we only achieved 46% when it came to text data transmission. In 2017, within a window of 7 days, we were able to get 100% transmission of the text data, which is progress. Now, what we should be looking at is how do we ensure that we have 100% transmission of the Form 34S? Yes.
Okay. Monica, do we have another? Timothy Mucheke, you say, I think Supreme Court answered all questions. That's why it didn't hold any individual responsible.
Well, I've said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I hate to compare us to Germany, but I have to mention this, as we wind down.
Right.
Germany held an election about 10 days ago. 61.5 million people went to the polls. The results were counted manually. That same evening, they had results. What is wrong with this picture? We had 15 million and change. What is wrong with our picture?
And by the way, if you look at Germany and other countries that are progressive enough, most of them use manual processes to manage their elections. countries that invest a lot in technology, countries like ours, are more or less countries either emerging from crisis or countries that are very weak in terms of democratization, and largely because of the low level of trust amongst ourselves. So our political culture is based on mistrust. And for that reason, we're trying to secure political behavior, we're trying to gain trust in our electoral process by investing in technology. But that is not necessarily a cure.
No.
I am an election manager, and I know from experience, the more technology you use, it only means that we are moving towards weaker and weaker democratic culture. So we can learn from Germany and see how we make our systems better, see how we entertain alternative views, because you cannot be democratic if you do not allow the flourishing of alternative views in a society like ours. And that means we must embed the culture of tolerance. Respect one another, express your view, respect one another, allow institutions to operate. The Electoral Commission can run an election, less expensive, get the returning officer, carry the ballots, go home with them, deliver the results the following day, and all of us are happy. If that happens in this country, then that'd be much progress.
Hallelujah to that.
Yeah.
Speaking of results,
yes,
the last time you and I had a conversation was right before the last election.
Right
before August 8th.
Yes.
And I asked you how long before we get results.
Yes. What did I
Back
say
then? You said 4 days.
Yes.
But no, you said you had a window of 7 days.
Yes.
But you said you could announce in 4 days.
4 days.
This time it's one ballot box, one paper, 2 names, possibly 3 names on that paper. How soon after do we expect results? Should we expect results?
I mean, given the experience I've gone through and what we've gone through as a country, just give us our 7 days. For God's sake, just give us our 7 days to count, verify, re-verify, to be sure. Even if it means going home to sleep, we go home to sleep the following day, we come back when we're fresh to announce the final results on the final day. But that said, we are much aware that we only have 1 seat. That means we'll have our officers free to do to concentrate much more to ensure that we have efficiencies in the manner in which results are transmitted. Counting will end. People will move to the tallying center in a good time, and that'll be good for us. So we expect that within 24 hours, most of these processes will have been completed. But because of the requirement to verify and re-verify before announcing, I think we just need to take our time. That's one of the lessons that we've learned. Take your time. Announce when you're comfortable announcing those results.
Within 7 days?
Within 7 days.
All right. And we wait, and we wait.
Yeah, so what we can tell the country
is
that let us not be anxious.
Yeah.
Let the commission be given its time to do its job, and if we're not able to do that within 7 days, we should pack our things and go home. But within 7 days, let us do our job.
Finally, this is finally,
right,
your relationship with your chairman. You friends? You hang out? You have tea together?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, there's a picture painted out there that we're always fighting. You know, the Secretariat versus the Commission. But what you don't know is that we work very well together. We are colleagues, and so that you know we come from the same county. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we come from the same county. So
which is what?
Trans-Nzoia. Yeah, and yeah, we speak every day. We have informal meetings every day. We call each other on issues, and as much as possible, we keep it professional. And despite the fact that we come from the same county, our determination is to keep our relationship professional. And that's what we do on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Monica, is it camera 3 or 2? Camera 2, okay. That's your camera over there, the one in the middle. Final thoughts. I give you the last word.
Okay. What do I mean to tell the Kenyans?
You have 21 days and 21 nights to go. Assure them we actually have an election. Tell them, because they won't believe me if I tell them.
Okay. Ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. This is my message to the Kenyan people. We went to an election on August 8th. The Commission, as the only institution mandated to run elections in this country, did its best. But the Supreme Court said otherwise. From where we sit, we think we've been given the second chance to be able not to just redeem ourselves, but to give the Kenyan people another chance to express themselves, and that their will may be counted or may count for something at the end of the day. As a commission, we know a lot has been said, but we urge you not to give up. Don't give up on our democratization journey. Allow the commission to be able to prepare after learning a lot from the just concluded election. Allow the commission to prepare, and when that day comes, please show up at the polling station, knowing very well that this time round, your vote will be protected to the level that the Supreme Court has determined. And that is our commitment to you. And that is the effort that we're investing into this particular process. So don't give up in our journey of democratization. Thank you very much.
Don't give up on this journey of democratization.
Yes.
All right. It's up to you, folks. We put the man on the seat here. You asked a lot of the good questions. A lot of questions came from them, which is fantastic.
People are paying attention.
People are paying attention. And it's up to you. Monica, do you have some final results? Has it changed? Is our server still working? 34 Bs are in?
Yes.
We're asking the question, should Ezra Chiloba resign as IEBC CEO? 58% say yes. 42% say no.
How many people are those?
How many people? It's actually 19,611,432. No, I'm kidding.
Well, last time, we were there also,
Yes.
You remember the
Correct.
oscillation?
Correct.
But we don't look at the polls. You do your job, because eventually is your loyalty to the rule of law that will vindicate you. Yeah, not public opinion.
Yeah, not public opinion.
Not public opinion.
So you just, all this negativity out there, you let it roll off your back? Is that what you do?
Yes. I always tell people that if you do what is right, you do what is legal, then you become the prisoner of your own conscience. Then you are liberated, because it does not necessarily matter what others say, and especially if they don't have facts.
Yeah.
Once you've done your bit, please be loyal to your conscience.
By the way, just for your information, there was 7,200 votes.
Wow, that was
voters.
Good. That was good.
Not bad.
That's good.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Good luck.
hope I'll come to see you again.
I hope so too, really. And maybe, once all this is over, think about writing a book.
Well, a lot to write about.
No doubt.
A lot to write about.
Ezra Chiloba, no longer embattled, I don't think. CEO IEBC. He says we have an election, 21 days and 21 nights. That's the bottom line. Let's get ready. It's up to you, folks. At the end of the day, whether you believe him, it's up to you. Whether you believe the commission, it's up to you. At the end of the day, we have to vote, we have to move on, and that's all we want to do. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Keep tweeting at Chiloba. It is Chiloba with an E, isn't it?
Whatever it is. I can't. I don't track these things anymore.
At Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag, as always, JKLive. If it's Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other, JKL. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Good night. Good luck. Oh, by the way, tomorrow morning on Jeff and Jalas on Hot 96, you must come to, you've been to Hot 96 before?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. Hot 96, Jeff and Jalas, tomorrow from 6 to 10 a.m. Who do we have? We have Dr. Frank Jenga. to talk about all those suicides that are going on across the country.
Guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that tomorrow morning between 6 and 10, only on Hot 96. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Good night. Good luck. God bless. Thank you, sir. Screw this up.